My sister's 8 years older than me, and she looked at me. She has 3 kids, and she goes, Blair, here's the best parenting advice I ever received. And I said, what is it? And she goes, do what you got to do to survive. Embodied Business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Embodied Business Show. I am really incredibly excited. Today, I am sitting here with an incredible woman, a serial entrepreneur. She has helped hundreds, thousands, I don't know how many people across the world, but your story is epic. And I'm really excited to dive in with you. Welcome, Blair Jones.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. And we've had Garen on the podcast before. So like having the other side, I feel like it's really special because a lot of people, they see power couples, essentially. I'm going to put that label on you for a moment. But they see these people who are out building massive things in the world. And often we only hear one side of the story.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I really want to get you on today because what you guys have created has taken both of you to be in the story, but also like what you're holding at home, having young children, all of those pieces is such a big testimony to your life and what is here. So
it's so funny you say that because every time I watch a documentary, like I was just watching a documentary last night about Steph Curry. He's an NBA basketball player. But like the first thing I do after a good documentary is I Google them naturally and what are they doing? And then I'm always like, Steph Curry's wife, what does she do? What is she like? Because I'm always so curious, what is the counterpart of this person who has great impact and is up to big things? And what's the vibrational counterpart to that or the other side to the yin to the yang? So yeah, so having Garen, he's a special one. And so it's, always an honor to show the other side of what that's like.
100%. And I believe it's like a good man must have a good woman standing beside him. And then we met at Preston's house at a barbecue.
Yes.
Right? And I was like, I like you. I was like, instantly, I was like, your energy was just really like beautiful and clean. So I was like so excited when I was like, I need you to come on the podcast.
It's always nice when that happens. You're like, oh, okay, it all matches, it all works out and checks out. Good.
So tell me, like you guys have so many businesses, so many things that are like constantly up. I know you got retreats coming up and you've also got a 7-month-old and she's nearly 4. Is Sol 4?
She's almost 4, yeah.
Yeah, 4-year-old. And by the way, our kids playing together was pretty cute. But what kind of woman do you have to be able to hold that with such integrity, do you believe?
I feel like one, that the level of respect and honor I have for my husband is so great. I often tried to or attempt to or check in and go inward to manifest things for my husband, with my husband. Yeah. Things that I know that he's calling in, things that he's working on, things that he's desiring. I really hold those to a level of great honor, of respect. And also I want that for him. I desire that for him. It's so interesting. I was just listening to Alexia on a podcast and she was really talking about the honored woman the previous woman, we often confided in our counterpart financially to take care of the home. But now the honored woman, we make our own money. We have our own career. So what is it that we really rely on our sense of partnership? What do we rely on our partner for? What do we need from them? What do we desire from them? And it's that trust, honor, safety, that ability to hold for us when we have, I'll speak for me, the ability to hold for me when I have really large emotions postpartum, during pregnancy, when we don't see each other often, during parenting little small children. And so how can we show up for each other? And then also how can I hold him while I'm also holding the other part? So it's like, I always use the analogy, Garen takes care of the home so I can take care of the family. I don't have to worry about the outside. I don't have to worry about the taking care of everything so I can focus on the nurturing part, so I can fall into the mother, so I can be that feminine energy that we desire. So we're not just two masculine people marching around doing these things, but how do we transition into that?
I love that so much. And with that, obviously, you still have room for creation for your own work. Like, I'm curious because like a lot of women, they would hear that and instantly compartmentalize as like, okay, so you take care of the home. Like, where does your business come into it?
Right.
But I see you leading these huge things with women, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's so incredibly inspiring to watch and just to see like your energy when you're on stage. And like, I've seen little videos.
Yeah.
Like, I remember seeing one story where Garen had put it up on his thing being like, you were like jumping and dancing on a stage. And he's like, that's my wife. I was like, I fucking love that so much, you know?
Yeah. I really believe that it's the the home is an ecosystem. So every person that can like from, you know, I don't enjoy calling them cleaning ladies, but anyone who's a part of the ecosystem in our home. So we have the person that tends to our laundry, the person who tends to our landscape, the person who tends to our children while we're working from home. And so every part of it is, it's not an easy thing to set up. You're managing people, which I don't really enjoy that word either. But it's like we are all in this together. I need another me so I can do what I'm doing here, but then also the ecosystem. It takes a village.
Yeah.
And so to create the village, it's really, we have really taken pride in that of like, I don't want someone to come to our house to do a job to get paid. But they're, you know, we many times we've had our nanny who I'll make her food and I bring her food and she's just so amazed, like, wow, people take care of me like that. Of course, I should take care of you like that. You're taking care of my children.
Yeah.
I have high reverence for you because you're tending to something that's priceless. So I can be doing what I love while you're doing this. So can I make sure that you're tended to so you feel loved? So it's the energetic exchange. So to answer your question, I really think it's how we have creating the ecosystem, the setup for our home that works for us, that makes sense for us, and really take pride in that and not comparing it to other people. You know, some people don't believe in schooling, and it's like, well, my kid loves school. He loves it. She thrives in it.
Yeah.
And so to take that away because of the system. And so I have to be careful also of all the things that people say and what's right and what's wrong. And I'm like, okay, I'm aware of the information, but what makes sense for me? What makes sense for our family?
I love that so much, especially being like, Austin's a really like conscious community. So there's a lot of strong opinions here.
Very.
Right?
Yes.
And I seen you put a post up the other day about how someone shamed you for having a sleep routine.
Yes.
I'm here for sleep routines. I'm so here for sleep routines.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I love that you're so outspoken about this because I think especially when we are trying to build life on our own terms and those sorts of things, some things that might feel like the system, they're actually partly there because they also support us.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like being in a conscious community, you know, I've seen women shame other women for having a hospital birth. I've seen
that.
I'm like, gosh, you know, just we got to be really careful. I don't know what trauma she's had. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but the point is at the end of it, this person who wants a hospital birth, she wants a healthy baby at the end. I happen to have a home birth. I wanted to have a healthy baby at the end. We both, I want the same outcome. So can we just maybe respect the process? Can we be a little bit more curious?
Yeah.
And the same thing with sleep training. Like I read one line in one book. It said, if you're sleep deprived, your baby's sleep deprived. And I was like, this makes so much sense to me. My baby should be sleeping longer periods of time than they are. So sleep training to me, well, maybe he's sleep deprived and this isn't working. And what am I doing to train him to be codependent on me in order to sleep? And so, and again, and then people go down this rabbit hole and then they shame me. And then they're like, but you do a home birth and you do this thing called sleep training. And I was like, right. And you do you.
Yeah.
I'm doing me over here. And at the end of the day, I want to sleep and I want my baby to sleep. And I bet you over there who's co-sleeping, you want the same. You want to sleep and you want your baby to sleep. And I was like, we all want the same thing.
100%.
So can we be a little more gentle or compassionate in the process and way in which we get there?
100%. And I always say, like, we co-sleep with my son still. He's like nearly 4 and it is fucking painful. Like, I'll be really honest. Like, it is like, I'm at the point where I said to Urbane, it's like, as soon as we get back home to Australia, we're pulling a nurse in and we are genuinely like doing the thing, because we tried doing it when he was 18 months. And then as we were in the process, we moved house. And so I just succumbed to it. And it's like when you look at the bigger picture, like when he sleeps really well, our whole family is different.
100%. The whole energy of the house is different.
Yeah.
My sister's 8 years older than me, and she looked at me. She has 3 kids, and she goes, Blair, here's the best parenting advice I ever received. And I said, what is it? And she goes, do what you got to do to survive. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And I've used that so many times when I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what's right or wrong or comparing. And so I'm like, oh, I just got to do what I got to do to survive. And I bet you that mom over there, she's doing the same thing.
Yeah, totally. And like even the little things, like my son's a super fussy eater. And so the part of me that's like, he should be eating this, 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 and this, like, you know, and he doesn't get to those pieces. But it's like, well, hold on, is he still getting some nourishment? Yeah, sure. Like you just have to work with what you can work with. And I love that you have that approach as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Going even into eating. Like, I mean, I have a 7-month-old, and he will only eat bananas and sweet potatoes. Only. That's it. I have tried everything. He spits it out. He gags. He's like revolts it. He can't even look at it. I'll blend the sweet potato, banana, and avocado together, and he knows the difference. And I was just like, I used to think and judge mothers. I'm like, well, yeah, he's only eating the mac and cheese because you fed him the mac and cheese.
Yeah.
I'll stop feeding the mac and cheese. And then I was like, oh my God, I get it now.
Yeah.
I have zero judgment for mothers anymore. I'm just literally like, yeah, you are doing a great job. You're keeping the baby alive. You made it. You showered today. Just things it's humbling. It's very, very humbling. Things that I used to judge, I now am doing. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, that's where I've gained my own wisdom, is adjusting my judgment to things that I said I would never do. And here I am like, all right, it's not as easy as it looks.
So funny. Yeah, my son went through a stage where all he ate was pumpkin, and we took him to the doctors because he was yellow. Like I thought he had jaundice. And
they're like, oh, it's a massive amount of pumpkin.
Yeah, the doctor's like, what are you feeding him? And I'm like, he literally will only eat pumpkin at the moment. We had a whole pumpkin song, everything. It was like, pumpkin was like the thing.
He turned orange.
He turned orange. He had an orange tip on his nose and orange fingers because of the coloring of the pumpkin.
Oh, I bet you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I bet you it's like from carrots,
the carotene or something.
Yeah, inside of it. Oh my God, that's hysterical. Yeah. And did he get over it?
Yeah, he got out. He doesn't eat pumpkin at all now.
See?
Like he's pumpkined out.
And then I just have to go back to like, you know, maybe there's some higher intelligence in this little baby who's on the other side. A lot more recent than I was over on the other side. And they have some intelligence that I just don't have. So let me just roll with it. And be okay with it.
We're birthing some pretty magical babies at the moment.
100%. Like, can we all just like relax?
Yeah.
Everybody relax. Like, okay, bro, like you want to eat banana and sweet potato? Like, that's a great diet, buddy. Great job. You're doing great. Like, yeah, just what are we so stressed out about?
It's so good. So I'd love to know too, because like you guys have made so much success in an industry where people think it's impossible. Right. So you've built a really big, like one of your businesses, I should say, is through network marketing and through really helping people step into health and what they're creating. Like, I would love to know what it's like to be on that side of it because, you know, I've done network marketing.
Okay, yes.
I've had a little bit of experience in it and I created a bit of success in the short time that I was in. It was great. And taught me a lot, like a lot. It was like a personal development plan with a payment plan.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I'm curious, like, what did it take for you guys to really like hold that vision and keep going with it?
For sure. I love it because it's like I again, humbling. I would scoff at people who are in network marketing. I'm like, they're just pyramid scheme. This is a joke. There's no way I'm ever doing that. I have a college education. I would never do that.
Yeah.
And then here I am. And then people meet me and the number one compliment I always get, and they're like, wow, I really like you. And you're in network marketing. And I was like we're weird or we're outcasted. And I was like, it's a funny industry. And it's also, it's to me an industry that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So very early on, I was 24 and I distinctly remember working and I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this for another 40 years. I worked at a bank. I worked at a bar.
I can imagine you in a bank.
Oh yeah, I was terrible. My drawer was always off. I was always in trouble because I was late. Like, I was terrible. I couldn't. And yeah, I was a teller and I couldn't count money back. And I remember I gave too much money to somebody and not enough money. And it was just like a whole thing. And I was like, ugh, bless everyone who works at a bank. It's so stressful. And I remember crying one day leaving work. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do for work, but what am I going to do for the next 40 years of my life? Like, I need to have a career. I don't know how to figure this out. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I just distinctly remember I was like, I need to like feel better. And so then I just started losing weight. I started feeling better. People started asking and I scoffed. I go, I would never sell these products to people. This is not what I want to do. And then I just saw the potential and possibility. And I said, okay, great. Well, if I need to have a job and I really like this and I like how I feel, then why not try it?
Yeah.
And so then, further along, I'm like, well, isn't everything really like someone's always doing something, but unless you're working for yourself, there's not a lot of skin in the game there's not a lot of say I have.
Yeah.
And so that's really how it birthed. And I remember calling my parents when I made this decision that I was going to go all in my version of that. And I called them and told them, and I said, hey, I'm not going to see you guys for 3 years. I'm like, what do you mean by that? And I said, I'm gonna go all in on this business. I'm gonna try to make it work. I'm my only employee because I was the only person on my own team. And I said, I'm not gonna be able to come home for Christmas or holidays or birthday parties. My sister just had her second baby. And so I was like, I'm not gonna be able to come to the baptism. And everyone was really pissed.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it and they didn't understand. And I had to really be okay with that. And my mom said, if this doesn't work out, you can always come home. And I was like, that was the only motivation I needed. I was like,
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah. I go, no one believes in me. They definitely don't believe in me. Now they're pissed at me because they don't see it's possible. Yeah. And it was never to prove them wrong. It was only to prove me right. I believe that this can work. Yeah. And I'm going to go all in on this thing on myself, even though nobody else sees it for me. And that so much so that they're like, when this doesn't work, you can come back. And so I was like, if I'm going to sell out on anything, I might as well sell out on myself and sell out on this dream. And if it doesn't work, at least I sold out to myself.
100%. Yeah.
And so it was never to me like, if this doesn't work, I'm going to be so ashamed. But it was like, I had to cash the chips in on something. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, at least I did it.
Yeah.
And so it just, I stuck to my word. I didn't see my parents for 3 years. I didn't see my sister for 3 years. And I wasn't home for Christmas because I couldn't afford to give gifts. I didn't go to birthday parties because I couldn't afford gas to drive home. And, 5 years later, my mom called me and said, I owe you an apology. And I was like, what? Yeah. And she's like, thank you for never listening to us.
I just got chills again.
And then 7 years into my career, and now ever since then, since 2000, I started network marketing in 2013, and in 2019, I called my mom and I said, those 3 jobs you have, if you'd like to quit, I'm happy to send you a check every month for what you make. And so my mom was able to quit all her jobs. They retired. They moved to Colorado. They'd ride e-bikes and play pickleball, and she doesn't have to work.
So powerful. And, I think it really goes to show, like, a lot of people, we're in this age now where everyone's like soft girl era and they don't want to work and they're so like, committed to that. But I believe, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I believe the soft girl era is made from moments like that.
100%.
Yeah. It's
100%.
such a testimony.
For sure. I don't want to say that I earned it, but I'll speak for myself. You don't have to earn the soft girl era.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that felt like I needed to earn it.
Yeah.
I needed to prove to myself that I could do it. I needed to prove to myself that I could make it on my own. And so there was something in me that I needed for my own satisfaction, my own self-approval. I didn't need it for anybody else.
Yeah.
And so for me now to say, I really desire to do less and to have more spaciousness, but it's also, I'm in a completely different season. I'm married, I now have 2 kids. Life looks a lot different for me. And so is it the season I'm in? Yes. Is it that I completed a season that I needed to have? Who knows? If I wouldn't have done that then, I wonder if there would have been a sense of fulfillment 10 years from now with kids and married of something that I needed to check a box of within myself.
Yeah.
But I did that and completed that one. And I learned a lot about myself in that era. And I believe that I had to. I always joke with Garen, I was like, here's the deal. When our kids turn 18, they have to move out of the house at least for a little bit. They can come back, they can live here when they need to, and whatever the fuck people think about college. But there's something to, let's just use college as an example. There's something to it. Like, you have to go out and live with roommates. You have to learn how to time manage. You have to learn how to money manage. You have to deal with conflict. You have to learn to deal with resolution. You have to deal with living in uncomfortable places. My kids have a pretty cush life.
Yeah.
And so I want them to feel what it feels like to maybe get out there and get in the arena.
Yeah.
To handle rejection. And so that era for me of that 10 years, 13 years of building my business, I mean, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot of grit. Yeah. You learn a lot of heartbreak. You learn success. And then you learn about what, I've redefined success. I have hit the pinnacle and I had the money and the body and the babies and the house and the da-da-da-da-da. And there was parts of me I was like, well, I thought I'd be the happiest I'd ever been, I would ever be. And there were times that I was like, I don't need that stuff anymore. I could live in a cottage in the middle of nowhere, driving a Prius, and I'd be happy. And so, but I feel like I had to reach the top of the first mountain to realize what mountain I wanted to actually climb that actually mattered. Because a lot of that was for my ego. And I'm so glad my ego checked a lot of boxes. My ego served a lot and it created a lot. And I don't know if I ever would have found those parts of me if I wouldn't have done that. And I wouldn't have been able to learn that much about myself if I wouldn't have climbed that mountain. Yeah. So a lot of great came with it and a shit ton of impact, like, oh my gosh, looking back, all these lessons that I learned about myself, but look at I left the world a lot better than I found it in the last 13 years. At least the road that I traveled, I would like to believe that I feel like I left the world in my little area, my little tiny minuscule part of the world. I left it better than I found it.
I love that so much. And it's actually got me a bit emotional because I feel that, like, you can feel it in your essence and in your energy. I'm curious, you said like you learned a lot of lessons. What was your biggest lesson that you learned for yourself in that?
There's a lot of success that I created in my life for someone to tell me that I did a really good job. Like I grew the network marketing ladder. I achieved a lot. I was the poster child for the company. They would ship me around the world to speak for them, and I inspired thousands of people because I wanted one day for my parents to call and say, I'm so proud of you. You did so great. I invited them over to, my husband and I live in a very large, expensive home. And, they were just about to leave. They had stayed there for 10 days. And I was like, well, Mom, are you proud of me? And she looked me down the face and she goes, I shouldn't have to tell you that I'm proud of you for you to know that. And I remember just sinking like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I cried after they left. And the biggest lesson that I ever learned was like, I was waiting for all these other people to tell me that I did a really good job. And I was like, at what point am I going to tell me that I did a really good job? And at 36 and here, it's like, Blair, you did really good.
Yeah.
You did a great job. You did awesome.
It hits home for so many. It hits home for me too. I did the very similar piece, and I think a lot of women are sitting in that place waiting for their partner to recognize them, their parents to recognize them, all these pieces. When you finally got that piece for yourself, what was the actual moment when you were like, okay, I did a really good job? Like how did it feel in your body? Like what shifted?
Yeah, I think it was a point of breaking. I was sitting there and I was like, how much bigger do I need to build it to be seen? How much more money do I need to make for people to notice me? How many more places and stages do I need to speak on for people to realize that I made it?
Yeah.
And ironically, I'm in a health and wellness company and my health was not doing well. My hair was falling out from stress, from overworking.
Wow.
My skin was just, I mean, there's a photo of me and it's just like I have breakouts and I had cold sores and I had like heat rashes because I was so stressed out from achieving and doing and pursuing and being on calls and sleep when I just like Eric Thomas. I would listen to Eric Thomas and Tony.
He got me into this industry.
Yes, you got, yes, for sure. Like YouTube video, like you sleep when you're like, you got to bat it, want it more than you want to breathe. And
Yeah.
like you sleep when you're dead. And it's just like, oh my God, like that. And I was like, yeah. And my nervous system took a hit and I was so cortisoled out and I was just, yeah, at the end. And then Garen looked at me and said, you know, there's no way we could start a family with you working like this. And then I remember being like, what the fuck? Like, look at how much I've done and look at how much I've created. Like, don't tell me that I can't do that too. And I got in the shower and I cried and I said, he's right. Like, there's no way that I could be a mother and be at this pace. And then I just had to ask myself, I'm like, when is enough enough?
Yeah.
When is, because network marketing, it's a beautiful thing. And it also can be golden handcuffs because there's no end.
Yeah.
And so I go, where's the finish line, Blair? And then I kind of sat there and I was like, I hit the finish line 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I keep going and going and going and going. And there's the quote, I'm going to totally probably botch it, but it was like the reason why I feel like I haven't hit the standard is because I keep raising my own bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And then I just remember coming back and looking at my husband and I looked him in the face and I said, if I never made another dollar again, if I didn't work ever again, would I still be good enough for you?
Oh,
would you still love me?
Yeah.
And he said, I would love you more. And he hugged me and I cried and I sobbed. And I said, I think that's it. I've done it. I've completed it. And it was like just an exhale of relief that I had achieved what I set out to do from this thing that nobody thought I was going to be able to achieve.
Yeah.
And then I just think I kept running from that. I felt like I needed to keep proving it more and more and more and more. And then I just lost sight of why I started.
Yeah.
I started it for me to prove to myself I could do it. And so I was the one that had to give myself approval that I could then set it down.
Oh my God, you brought me to tears. And I think so many women have that though. Like, it's such a big piece of like, we're looking for that, like the tick of like approval and, okay, am I good enough for you? Am I good enough for you? Am I good enough for you?
Did I do it?
Yeah.
I do good enough? Are you proud of me? Are you happy for me? Do you see me?
Yeah.
And it was just waiting for me to go, oh, Blair, I see you. Blair, you did it. Blair, you're good enough. You're more than good enough. You're magnificent. And so it was the moment that I had to shift the outward seeking to the cheesy. I was always the one I was looking for.
Yeah, yeah. That's so true though. Like, and it makes so much sense why your work is now about women nourishing themselves because you had to walk the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A path that lots of them are currently walking.
Yeah.
And so like, what if someone just reminded me along the way, like, hey, make sure you tune back into the one person that's the one that's walking in your own shoes. Like it's you and you in there.
Yeah, I say a lot in my business, woman first. Like we can't create anything that is going to feel good to our nervous system if we're not honoring that part of ourselves. So I love that so much. I'm curious, like, because you started this on your own and you'd already created so much success, like, you know, a lot of women that I personally speak to, they're like, I want to call in my king and I want to do this and I want to do all of that sort of stuff. And they get so caught up in making sure they're calling in a powerful partner that they almost lose themselves in the journey of it.
For sure.
And with you guys, I don't see that that's happened. I don't know a lot of your detailed stories, but What do you believe, like, created such an aligned partnership for both of you to still keep raising the bar and holding yourselves at a high level?
Yes. So the I don't know why I went to real estate right away. But in real estate, if think about it, there's a lot of homes that you can buy at a smaller price point. And then as the houses get more expensive, then, there's a selective audience that is in that price point. And then as they get more expensive. And so I feel like these very powerful women that have created a lot in their lives, you have to remember that there is buyers out there. There are people who are looking for that specific house.
Yeah.
They just might not be as frequent as the common houses. There's a lot of people that can buy those.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like people are like, why do I always attract this? Yeah, because there's a lot of them. Right.
Yeah.
And so to hold the vibration, that's I would say the part maybe for me, I would question myself as, am I always going to be alone? Or why am I alone? Look at everything I've built. Like, I have a fucking great resume. I take care of myself. I make my own money. I'm independent. The list goes on of the things I thought about myself of like, I am the perfect partner.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah. And these men, I believe they got to come up to this frequency to meet you there. And so like one, to hold that place with honor, but what was the inverse, the softening into that. So for Garen and I, we had very, very established businesses before we had met. Like we both had made in network marketing. He was in the top 0.5%. I was in the top 1%.
Yeah.
So we were very well off individually.
Yeah.
And so with that, had to be, what is the reasoning? What is the tending to of us coming together? And I actually asked Garen out on a date.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I'm surprised about that.
And so he was my friend for a long time. And then I finally had asked him, I said, do women ask you out on dates? He said, no, I'm from LA. It's like, that's the last thing women do. They do not. And so I said, Garen Jones, very softly and sweetly, would you go on a date with me? Can I take you out on a date?
Yeah.
And he's like, what does that mean? I said, I think it means I pay for dinner. Like he was 39 at the time. He was 39 at the time. I was 29 at the time. And we're very innocently conversating back and forth about what's a date. We didn't know.
Yeah.
And we established that I'd take him out to eat and I pay for it. But in that moment, it was like, well, let me try this. Let me try something I hadn't done before. And he can say no, and it doesn't mean anything less about me.
Yeah. Do you know what I love so much about that? Like, Urbane and I have a very similar story. I asked him out as well.
Oh, I love that.
And, we're told this big fairy tale thing of like, you've got to wait for the prince to find you and da-da-da-da. But when you're a woman who knows what she's about, knows what she wants to call in, and when we spot that in someone, it's like, do you have the courage to claim it, or are you going to sit back and wait because of the Disney stories?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And let me tell you, he was unconsciously a king. Like he's like, whoa. And then we got on the date, and on that date, that I took him out and I paid for dinner.
I love this so much. I just have to say, it's the best.
He turned and looked at me. He was eating his food and we were sitting right next to each other because it was so awkward. They set us at this huge, long, round table and we're sitting very far apart from each other. Yeah. And then he got up and he brought his chair over and sat right next to me. And so then our necks are sore, like when you sit on the airplane, when you talk to someone too long. And so I'm talking to him and he gets up and he picks up his chair and he turns it right towards me. So we're facing each other on this gigantic round table. And so I get up and I take my chair and I face it. So we're directly in front of each other. And he just looked at me very sweetly and said, Blair, I could see you as my wife and the mother of our children one day.
Wow. And
it was he wasn't looking for my approval. He just wanted to share because he was so full. Yeah. He wasn't seeking anything. He wasn't looking for my answer. Like he's like, this is my feeling and I just I just need to tell you, I'm feeling this. And then he picked his chair up and he went back to eating. And so did I. And I said, thanks. And we paid for the bill. And I didn't know how I felt about that.
Yeah.
And so in the end, that he was the prince in the fairy tale. But yet, what if he never would have gotten the memo that I was the girl, right?
Yeah.
I had to kind of go in and ask him.
Same as my partner. I was literally like, hey, I would like to get to know you more. And he was like, yeah, me too. And then he's like, looks at me like, okay, what does that mean? Like,
how do we do that?
Like, they really don't know.
They really don't know. They really don't. They don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Like when I met him, I remember when I met him, like we just met on it in the reception piece. And I said to him on the podcast, I was like, you have such a grounded, safe energy. Like,
Garen.
Yeah. It didn't feel like there's any like leaky energy or anything like that. So I can imagine when you're trying to share that with someone that is so sort of present in themselves and, you know, like they just know themselves, it can feel like quite intimidating as a woman to also come up and say, hey, would you go on a date with me? What was happening internally for you there?
Well, when it happened, I didn't really know what I said, like, because he's like, what is it that you want? And I told him I was like, I want to show the world. I want to be unapologetic and I want to live this big life. And he's like, what else do you want? And I was like, I want to date someone like you. He's like, someone like me. And I was like, yeah, I was like someone who's free. And I named all these characteristics about Garen. And then he's like, okay, so you want to date someone like me? And I was like, no, I want to date you. And then I didn't know it just fell out of my mouth. And then I hung up on him. And then I called him back the next day. And then I said, will you go, Garen Jones, will you go on a date with me?
Yeah.
And I think it was really from a place of he had every characteristic, everyone, of just somebody that I would love to be around and more than anything learn from. Like there is so many things from my husband I desired. What does it feel like to have that much fun in life? What does that feel like to walk around like that, to be in so much joy? Oh my gosh, like I want to learn from that. And I see what you have. I feel like I know what you bring to the table. I know what I bring to the table. Like we're coming and this would be a beautiful exchange. And if it doesn't work and if it doesn't make sense, like there was not a lot of attachment that I had.
Yeah.
Of I hope it's the one. I hope he's the one. It was very like, wow, I love that.
Yeah.
And so it was a really grounded place in my body. It was a really innocent, curiosity. There was a lot of innocence of like, I don't know how this really goes. I've never really done this before. Yeah. And so let me try this out with you and see how it goes.
Yeah. So good. And I think, I love the whole piece around the no attachment, like, and, just really allowing yourself to feel into what the full desire is. Like, so many women, they're like, oh, I've got my perfect man and I've got to put him on a paper and he's got to check all these boxes and all these things. But they don't actually try and then follow up with that. Mm-hmm. They don't actually go, okay, cool. Well, who's the woman I have to be to hold that kind of person and that kind of relationship as well?
Right.
I'm curious to know, like, having chosen, like, and I believe, like, what you've shared there is, like, the truth of choosing a conscious relationship, right? Like, I know for myself personally, I had to walk through a whole heap of shitty relationships to actually go, what do I want?
Right.
Like, what do I actually desire in a man? And I'd done the list and I was like, now who's the woman I have to be able to hold that? Mm-hmm. And when I met my partner, I was like, oh my God, he actually does check every box here. Like,
right.
And that's when I made the decision as well. I was like, I actually want to get to know this person and go deeper with them because I know, like, just from our couple of dates that it feels really aligned. But most people think a conscious relationship is because we're both spiritual, we can connect.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so fun. No. Yeah. Yeah. We had done a lot of work. And then, then behind closed doors, like I've said some ratchet shit to my husband. I have played dirty. I have hit below the belt. Even though I know better, it doesn't mean I always do better.
Yeah.
I have said things and we were deep into a relation or we were fully married and we were in a disagreement and I remember calmly just stating to him, I said, you need to stop talking or I'm in a red line. And he kept talking and talking and talking. And I said, I'm about to red line. And I said it very calmly. And I said, if you say another word, like I might go crazy. I might flip out. And then he went and he leaned in and he kept talking. And I went red. And what red looks like for me is I just started screaming. I started throwing things. I went to the front door. I slammed it 30 times. And then I slammed the door and I started banging on it. And I was like, I went crazy. I mean, I went animalistic. I went fucking nuts. And then I came to, and then I was like, now I'm embarrassed because I'm married and my husband just saw me redline for the first time ever. And so I got in my car and I went and checked into a hotel because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then the next night, he came to the hotel and we sheepishly sat next to each other. And I said, so when I say you got to stop talking and I say I'm in a red line, that's what that looks like. And he's like, I've never seen anything like that before. And I was like, I'm clear. And then he's like, in a weird way, I actually like I get why you've built and created everything you've created because that same energy just unchanneled looks like that.
Yeah.
I was like, you're right. Yeah. That's unbridled energy, that I believe creates, that gives life, that births children, that has the ability in the body to have, for me, unmedicated births.
Yeah.
To fucking walk a hard path and create and build what we've created in this, handle resilience. I was like, that lives in here.
Yeah.
And that's what that looks like when it's unchanneled or untamed or untended to. And so from there's been a lot of work that I've had to work on in partnership around my anger or temper.
Yeah.
And the thing about, to me, conscious relationships is that I'm committed to the work.
Yeah.
I'm committed to applying it. And Garen can attest to it. And he is my number one fan. He's like, you don't ever do things, Blair, that are life-changing and then it's just life-changing. You actually change your life after you have the life-changing experience. Because so many times, like, people do ayahuasca ceremonies and medicine ceremonies, and they go to these fucking huge, long women's retreats, even retreats that I hold. And I go, is it just a moment in time or an event that was very euphoric and very blissful?
Yeah.
But then in 2 months, are you right back to the same routine and mundane things and unconscious behavior?
And you go to those things to chase the high.
Yes. And then you go back to the ayahuasca ceremony, then you go back to the and I was like, what are you actually doing to apply it? You know, integration is the most pivotal part of the experience. So after this heightened event of him seeing me go animalistic and ballistic, this was okay, I'm ready to look that beast in the face and do something about it and do something different. And from there, you know, inch by inch, he'll watch my transformation happen. But it's a partnership, right? So it's like, I know his quirks and I know his, for lack of shortcomings. I know his skeletons in the closet.
Yeah.
And what in conscious relationships, I believe, is I can't use that against him and he can't use it against me.
Yeah.
And that's really big because there's a lot of power in knowing somebody's skeletons in their closet. Yeah. How they can use it against you. And it will cut and it can cut really. And I've done it to others. That's why I know.
Well, I've done it to my partner and we've had to rebuild from that. Like, it's literally the thing that emasculates a man so deeply is when you sit there and highlight, this is where you're wrong, this is why you're not good enough, all those pieces. Like, it just doesn't build and make...
For sure.
Yeah. I love that you shared that. Thank you so much for sharing that because I think it's so fucking real.
Right.
Right? Like, I've had my red line moments too where I'm just like, nah, like, I'm done. And so many people think that, okay, now that they're in the work or they're doing this thing, that they can control all their emotions at all the time. And it's like,
no way.
I'm still human.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I still have to learn that next level of what it is to correlate. And Preston, one of our friends, my mentor, he always says, like, most of our wounding happens in community. So we have to, like, also heal in community.
For sure.
And the biggest community is the choice of relationship that you choose to have.
100%.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my relationship is my greatest ceremony. It's my greatest initiation.
Yeah.
It is my greatest teacher. It is where I have gained so much other than my business that I built. This is the most intimate part of, I mean, it's everything. because he's the thing I prayed for. I wanted to have a partner like this. I wanted to be so in love. I remember the days of being so lonely and desiring a husband, and then being in a marriage and feeling so lonely. And I go, whoa, there's a common denominator. It's me.
Yeah.
But am I willing to go in and do the work? Because it was Garen is a very easy target, my husband, of the things he didn't do or what he's not doing. But it was really, I go, okay, great. If there's a higher intelligence at play, and Blair created this Sims game, and she goes, oh my gosh. So she wants to be wise, and she wants to be totally embodied, and she wants to feel so free in herself, and she wants to feel so open and connected and a part of the divine in this, and so in love with herself and her partner. Okay, here is the perfect character that we're going to put with her that will actually unlock all of that within herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Garen, it had to be Garen. It had to be him because he makes no sense. He doesn't live on Earth. I mean, everything about him.
Really doesn't.
He really doesn't. And there's no schedule. He doesn't believe in time. Like, I mean, he's 45, living a 45-year-old man, but a 5-year-old. It's the craziest thing. But yet he's an elder all at the same time. It's the most confusing thing, and it makes so much sense. And I was like, again, my higher self was like, it had to be Garen. It had to be your husband.
Yeah.
It had to be this way for me to remember or to evolve into this person that I desire to be. Like, so at the end of the day, like, oh my God, thank you, Garen.
Yeah.
Thank you for all these things that you're teaching me about myself that I never wanted to look at. And I never wanted to, face, but because of you and because I'm committed to you, I'm going to do that. And the greatest gift that Garen had ever shared with me was after that red line event, and we're sitting in the hotel, I was like, so you don't want to leave me? Like, you don't want to throw in the towel? And he said, when I chose you, I chose all of you, every part of you. And I was like, fuck. Like, somebody chose every part of me, every shortcoming, every skeleton in the closet, every beautiful thing about me, every achievement, and every fuck up. And I was like, that is a big, like, wow, like what a gift. And then I was faced with, do I choose all of him?
Yeah.
And so I was like,
That's
I do.
Big. Yeah.
If he's going to choose all of me, do I choose all of him? And it really got me questioning, do I want, because that's fucking huge. Like, oh God, this is gonna be hard. I choose all of that, all this shit that bothers me and annoys me. And
I talk about this so much because a lot of people are like, I want to choose you from this corner, but I'm not willing to choose all these pieces. And so they shame that rather than, so big.
Right. And so and that's the work. That is the work. So it's like, yes, do we do the work, but then do we live the work? Again, every day is a ceremony, and my relationship is the greatest ceremony of all.
So beautiful.
Better than any fucking ayahuasca trip I could do.
I always say, like, relationships are a spiritual playground, and we as women hold that container for it.
For sure.
Yeah. I want to go back just a moment because you said it's like he's being with like a 5-year-old and an elder at the same time. Ebain and I went to his event recently that he had.
Yes.
And I said, like, I looked over at Ebain at one point and he's captivated by him. I was captivated by him, but not by like a, oh my God, you're sexy kind of way. It was like you are so alive. You're a child that is just so free in themselves.
It's all authentic.
Yeah. And we were both just like in awe of this. And I said to Ebain, I was like, do you have a man crush right now? And he's like, I don't know what it is. Like, I was just captivated by him. I was like, I was the same, but it was like the way that like he moved, I was like, oh, that's what like it really is to just be like so free and in your own zone. And so when you were like, it's being with a 5-year-old and an elder, like a lot of women, they long for that inner child to be alive in their partner.
Right.
And they want it to like be like, I want to see your fun side. I want to see your play side. And then when it comes out, they shame it.
For sure.
The little boy.
Yes.
You know, I've done that. I've been like, oh, you're being a little boy when I've expected him to be a certain way as a dad or I've expected this. How do you hold that as a woman who is like, you're so playful too? And also I can see that you have like quite a serious side as well. Like, how do you manage it and be with it?
So it's the one thing I didn't want to do, was mother my husband.
Yeah.
And I did not want to fucking do it.
Yeah.
I go, I'm responsible for so much and so many people, and I have kids, and like, I don't want to mother that part of you.
Yeah.
Like what did I say? Shitty things like man up, do better. Like you need to be more mature, versus he would do those things if he knew how.
Yeah.
And so we went to, in 2023, it was December 2023, we went to Hawaii with our mentor. Her name's Deborah Silverman.
She's the astrology lady.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen some of her stuff. She's awesome.
She invited us to her home to do a 3-day intensive with her. And so, and I paid a lot of money. We went really far, and let me give you the answer to what I was searching for a very long time with my husband.
Yeah.
She said, here's the deal, Blair. She goes, your family has so much ability, so much abundance waiting for them. Your family has so much impact that they create, and you and Garen have the reach of so many. And she goes, and you're the bottleneck of all of it.
Oh, how did that feel hearing that?
And I looked at her and I said, I know. What do I do about it? I know I'm the one that's the reason why this isn't growing, creating, doing what I know is possible between not just Garen, but Garen and I together. Because one can take 1,000 to flight, two can take 10,000. Yeah. And so she told me this story about Mary Magdalene. And so she talked about how the reason why she believed that Jesus was able to have all of these gifts, and all of his gifts came online, and how he's able to learn them was because of Mary Magdalene. Yeah. And she said, there's 2 rays of light. The first ray of light is achievement. It's doing, it's building, it's the pursuit. And that ray of light was given to Jesus. He's here to do all these things and be seen. The second ray of light is love and wisdom. And love and wisdom needs no ego. The first ray of light has ego because it has to survive. It has to go do. It has to build. It's on a mission. And so Mary Magdalene was gifted the second ray of light because she was actually the reason why Jesus became Jesus in her belief system. Yeah. So she brings out these two people, and they're both praying. And she turned the woman, and the woman was praying, and she was praying towards the cross. And she turned the man, and the man was praying to her. So essentially, the lesson was to be in the highest devotion of God, or Mary Magdalene, that Mary Magdalene was here sent by God to support activating the masculine in their greatest power. And because you have love and wisdom, you don't need to be seen. It's not about you. It's about being in devotion to God, which is to be, if you are in the highest devotion and service to your husband, you are then in the highest devotion to spirit, to God. And the whole thing shifted for me. I know without a doubt, I can't do what Garen does, nor do I have the desire to do what he does, how he does it. He has this capacity, a stamina, a reach, an aura, you've seen it about him, that I don't possess. But it would only go so far without me. Yeah. It would go, again, one would take 1,000 to flight. Yeah. But in my devotion and service to my husband, that then goes to 10,000, 10 million. So again, I go, if I could get this one piece, if I could learn how to turn my annoyance into honor, if I could change my frustration into devotion to my husband, that's the whole code. Yeah. And so we went there, and she's like, do you feel like these parts of Garen that are very boyish, that are very childlike, can you actually look at those parts of them and say, they don't know and they need mothering? Like Mary Magdalene tending to Jesus, who doesn't know how to use his superpowers, doesn't know how to turn them on. Yeah. Maybe afraid of, I'm supposed to go save these, I'm supposed to go be the Messiah. Not saying that that's what Garen is, but use the story. These are analogies. It's a parable, right? So I go, wow, okay. So how can I usher in this little boy into his manhood, into his king. And ultimately, if you want to know, our youngest son, our 7-month-old, his name is Chieftain, because I said, what is more mature than a king? It's a chief.
Yeah.
Chief has wisdom. A chief has poise. A chief has so much respect without power. It's respect with honor. You don't need a crown to be a chief.
I'm having a whole moment right now. My son's name is Tiadiki, which also means chief. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
And so this is where we came to. This is like I have goosebumps. This is where we came to. Could I just honor the little boy who's learning to become a chief, but hold the innocence of the boy? Don't lose that essence while we're bringing in the initiation of the chief. And remind the little boy that he doesn't run the ship. He gets to feel free, just like a child feels more free when they have boundaries than when they don't. I don't know about you, but when my little girl knows the rules of the game, where she can go, what she can't do, what she can touch, she is almost more free. She feels more safe.
The containment is there.
The container creates more safety.
Yeah.
And so we just had things out of order inside of Garen. It's like the little boy is running the ship and he doesn't know the rules to the game. There hasn't been a container set. There hasn't been boundaries. We need Chief Garen to come in here and then he can run free.
So potent. Yeah.
So when we started figuring this out, we understood where parts of little boy Garen were running the show and where we had to shift things. And then then he could feel more free for Garen to, that's his essence, is the little boy. So, but we had to get things in place like schedules and responsibilities and what's yours and what's mine and understanding time and bedtime routine. And I go, and when we need to call in these structures and then we bring in little Garen to have fun inside of that.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I think, so many women would be like, well, I'm not like playing with that. I don't want to be in that energy. But I feel like there's such a potency to it because we expect our man to be like, the divine king. And like, that's what's sold in the story and stuff like that. But it's like, what most people don't realize is a king isn't crowned until a queen's standing beside him.
100%.
Like
100%.
Like I always talk and people are always like, oh, how did you, Elaine show up for you in this way and stuff like that. And I'm like, we initiated each other. It didn't just like when I met him, I was fucking broke, flatlined. And he was making way more money than I was at the time when I met him. And it's like with his commitment and conviction to what we are, it flipped. Like I started making a lot of money because I also felt held as a woman as well.
For sure.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So then when they see this, again, like I'll use us for example, when they see our life and they see how it's ran in Garen, they see Garen. They see the masculine almost, they can make whatever fucking stories they want to make up about it. Must be nice to be the hell. I don't care. Because I was like, I'm so embodied that I wouldn't have, he wouldn't be if it wasn't for us.
Yeah.
The initiation of the two of us.
Yeah.
And so, and actually it makes me proud when Garen is the face of it because I know the hand I had in the supporting and the evolution of that. Again, love and wisdom has no ego. So why would I ever have ego about that? Because people will come up and say, oh my God, are you Garen Jones's wife?
Yeah.
He used to fucking bug me. And now I take it with the greatest honor. Yes, I am.
Yeah. I think that's like the real wise woman card though.
100%.
Takes some women never reach that.
And again, because who the fuck talks about this?
Yeah.
The parable of Mary Magdalene and Jesus. Who even knows if it's fucking true? But to me, it feels real in my body.
Yeah. 100%.
It feels true that each one of us women can carry the codes of Mary or that essence if we choose to. And but we're not talking about this in home ec class in 10th grade, And I don't know. I was reading 17 magazine and Cosmopolitan back then, So I don't think there was any, I don't know if there's a lot of examples of this.
The rites of passage of all of us have been demolished, essentially.
Right.
I feel like we as women now, we're creating this collective path where it's coming back online. And, it's not going to happen without complete destruction of who we thought women were. And I personally believe, and I don't know how you feel about this, but, the whole feminist movement had to happen for us to get back here.
I so believe that. I'm so grateful for the feminist movement.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And it had to be erratic to create change.
Yeah.
We had to swing the pendulum so fucking far to create change.
Yeah.
And then we hung out there maybe a little too long, maybe. I don't know. But then you're
Boss
like,
babe era was a whole thing.
right. But then it's like, right. 100%. And that's where, I don't know, but that's where I came into my business in the boss babe era.
Same. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was the personal trainer who had like the 6-pack and was like, really masculine.
For sure.
And then I swung the whole opposite way where I put a whole heap of weight on and softened so much that I couldn't even access my inner masculine because I was like so repelled almost by that version of me that I had to like then heal all of it to come back in together. It was crazy.
And so it's like, and also they swung it so far, got us so many, I mean, they fucking did a lot. Go ladies. And thank you. And then it's also like, oh shit, look at all this shit we did. How do we even go back from that, you know?
Yeah. It's like, how do I actually acknowledge that I'm a mother as well? Sometimes I want to fucking sit at home with my kids.
Right.
Like, I find nothing more peaceful now than knowing that life is so good and I can have those moments with my family where I'm just present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2025, there's always an exception, but primarily on Fridays, I don't work.
Yeah.
It's to sit home with my kids and hang out with them. But that's also because I'm learning how to swing the pendulum back also.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the transition from the grind, the independence, the build it, all the stories of, will my husband still love me? Fuck. If I don't bring the income, are we going to be okay? Like, there's a lot of unprogramming, unlearning that I'm slowly unweaving. And I'm just doing it just bit by bit, step by step. Because before I just wanted to rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to rip off the Band-Aid. And then I was like, well, then who am I? You know, so I just had to figure out, like, it's a dance. Like, I can bring the pendulum back slowly and go, that's my goal. But I just have to be really patient with myself. That, you know, and sometimes I get caught and I, you know, like last week I was in Indiana with a dear friend of mine, Jenna Engel, and we worked 12-hour days for 4 days straight, creating a whole new system, an onboarding system. And we worked 40 hours. I mean, it was crazy what we just did.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I haven't done that in a really long time. And it felt good. And then I was like, I don't have to do that for a really long time.
Yeah. There's seasons, right? It's acknowledging those pieces.
Yeah. And I have to go, is it okay that I just go touch that old part of me, kind of get that hit?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I still got it. And then I'm like, okay, good. I'm good.
But I think it's so crucial because every part of the journey also is part of like why we're where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for myself, like that hustle version of me that was like, that created the personal trainer, that created all the multiple businesses all at once that then crumbled on themselves, was like part of what also birthed this woman as well.
For sure.
And so it's like so many women are like, and I see it all the time, they're like, I don't want to be masculine. I just want to do it like the thing and relax and be soft. But they're not willing to actually take themselves off the hook and show compassion for those pieces either.
Right. For sure. And I just have to remember that they're all those parts of me are like kids on a bus.
Yeah.
I have to love them all.
Yeah.
And again, I'm so grateful for 6-pack, boss babe, you.
Yeah.
She led you here.
Yeah.
You know, I have to have compassion and love for, you know, doing lines of cocaine Blair in the back of a bar before my, you know, 10-hour bar shift.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that said, you know what, this isn't me anymore.
Yeah.
All those parts of me are parts of me. And so I took a long time to just say, man, can I just have so much gratitude for that part of me, because that part of me also said yes to this part of me and this part, to get me here.
Yeah.
You know, because for me, I'll say there's always things that I go, there's something missing, or what can I be doing more of? Or, oh my gosh, I'm too far down the road. How do I turn around? And all those little whispers, they're all those versions of me know. And so it's like and for me, I'm like, it had to be this way. My life had to be this way. And so the cliche, if I wouldn't change it if I could. No, I wouldn't change it if I could. But I also never want to fucking go back to that.
Yeah.
People were like, if you could go back, would you? And I was like, no way. I wouldn't change it.
I would go back to.
I do not want to go relive because I already did it. It's already done. I already did that part of the story and I don't have to go back. I don't have to go back and do that.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
We're here now.
Okay, quickly. I'm mindful of time. Oh, it's 11:11 right now as we're recording. Yes, I'm that person.
I love that person.
A lot of your work, you speak into astrology.
Yes.
And like you do readings for people and you do all that sort of stuff. I'm curious, like, why did that become such a main flavor for you? I love astrology.
Love astrology.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was at a network marketing event and the two women that I aspired to be there, I idolized, I looked up to them. This was back in that day where I was like, and they were sitting in the seats right in front of me and they were talking to each other and they were talking about, oh my gosh, she just got a reading from this lady. And they're like, oh my God, I got a reading. And so I'm eavesdropping on these two women.
Yeah.
And I heard them say the astrologer's name and I go home and I Google and it took me like 2 months to find this astrologer's name. It was in 2015. I finally find her. I had no idea what astrology was. When I was little, we used to go to a Chinese restaurant and on the Chinese restaurant, it would have like, when you're born, I don't even know. And I just remember I was a dragon when I was like, in the Chinese symbol. And then there was like the rabbit and the ox. And it's like, if you're a dragon, don't marry a rabbit because it's the worst compatible sign. And I was like, so I didn't even know. I was like, oh, I'm a Scorpio. It took me till 2015 to realize what zodiac sign it was because I just remember I was like, Scorpio is kind of like a dragon in that Chinese, it was on the placemat, when you sit down.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so funny. And so I remember, when I started learning about myself, and I started to get these readings, I would have these readings every 90 days because she would give me a 90-day projection.
Right.
Here's what energy is in your favor. Here's what to look for. Here's where to double down. And she would over and over and say, she goes, I'm not a psychic. And she goes, but in 90 days, you're going to huge achievement. And every single time she could name when I'm going to do a huge marketing plan advancement, when I'd get a huge flux of money. She even shared with Garen, and I had talked to her every 90 days from 2015. I still talk to her today. I talked to her on April 11th.
Yeah.
So she would do these 90-day projections for me. And what she was doing is she was working with the energy of the new moon and full moon. I didn't know that at the time because I didn't know shit about shit.
Yeah.
I would just fucking write it down. I'd be like, okay, double down, look for this person. This is a great business investment. Like, do this. And so she was just giving me and I knew nothing about astrology.
Right. Yeah.
So then I told her about how Garen and I wanted to start having a family. She goes, I really hate to break it to you. It doesn't look anywhere in your chart for another year, like about a year and a half. And I was like, I don't really believe in astrology, but no thanks. But I was like, okay, great. I'll talk to you in 90 days. I don't know why I kept talking to her. She was within a month. She had projected that we would get pregnant in February of 2021. We got pregnant in January of 2021.
Wow.
And we tried for a year and a half to get pregnant every single month because I kind of wanted to prove her wrong and I wanted to have a baby sooner. And then she was, almost to the month she was right. And I'm like, how did you know that? I go, for 1 year, I was trying to prove you wrong. And she's like, it's just the energy in your chart and where the placements were and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then we had this experience going to Hawaii with Deborah Silverman.
Yeah.
And when she looked at my chart and she looked at Garen's chart, it was, she didn't say anything like astrology context, vocabulary. She just was able to read the chart and read the energy and then mentor Garen and I. And after that, in December of 2023, I just go, whatever you just did. And I didn't even realize since 2015 how much I've been utilizing astrology in my life, that I want to be able to selfishly know how to do this with my family and my kids. And then I started learning it. And then one day, a friend of mine, her name's Julie Santiago, she owns a company called We Are the Women. She goes, I really want to give my women in my community a list of contacts of someone who does human design, someone who does, what does Richard Rudd do? He does not the numerology. Gene Keys.
Yeah.
And she goes, and we don't have anyone for astrology. Do you mind if I put you down? I know you just went through, you did astrology school and all the things. I was like, sure. The next day I wake up and and when I gave her my information, I didn't have a link. I didn't even know what I was going to charge. And she's like, well, make a link right now. So I made my little link. I made my little Calendly. I was like, great, like $99. And the next morning I woke up and I had 15 people who paid and booked an astrology.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah.
And so then I started doing readings, and then I just casually put it on my social media. And then next thing I know, 3 months later, I had done over 100 readings.
Wow.
And then I realized that I had booked out until March of 2025. I had so many readings that people were booking out 5 months in advance because there was just that's how long.
That's
and I was
line
like,
up
oh my
of divine,
gosh.
right? Yeah.
And at that point, I realized that everyone that was coming in was all referrals and referrals of referrals.
Right.
And then to me, I was like, wow, people must really be having their lives changed if they're telling people and it's creating its own little neural network happening that I'm not even promoting it. And people are it's all referral based. And so I say all that to say that I didn't realize how much I utilized in my life and how much it had transformed my life for me to learn it. I'm by no means an expert, but I've really made it a commitment that, wow, I remember how much fun what it is to be in genuine service to another. Not for the praise, not for the recognition, not for the acknowledgement. So it was such medicine for me because somewhere in my journey inside of my network marketing, it flipped to I did it for the praise and I did it for the acknowledgement and I did it to be the best and I did it to make the most. And for me to come into astrology and remember what it's like to be in humble service, to be in support of another, and then coming back into my network marketing business, that's why I flew out to Indiana last week and said, I remember now.
Yeah.
Let's go build this thing.
Yeah.
Let's spend 4 days. Let's do this thing. Let's create this for nothing other than to be in service. I have nothing to prove anymore.
Yeah. It's like the definition of servant leadership, right?
And then I was like, this feels really good.
Yeah.
Not a have to. And then to feel, every time I see someone, the little notification pops up, so-and-so booked an astrology reading. And it's every time I get this dopamine hit and just for joy.
Yeah.
Somebody's allowing me to do that. And so I just, again, it's my passion project, but I get so much out of it for another. And I forgot what that was like. So it's been such medicine for me to give and to receive for somebody else, if that makes sense.
So good. Yeah, I've been working with an astrologer myself for like the last 4 years, I think, maybe 5 years. And every year I get a reading on my birthday for the year. And she was like, she'll literally give me dates of like when to go big, when to do this. This is what's coming.
When to go on vacation.
Yeah. And it's like, it's mind blowing. And she messaged me the other day being like, your birthday's coming soon. I'll see you soon. And I'm like, oh, and you've just made me go, do I need to do it 90 days now?
Right.
So crazy. Yeah.
I think it's whatever feels good for you. And I don't know why mine was every night. She would just give me 90-day projections. And then I'm always just one of those people. I'm like, okay, great. And I'm very routine. I was like, okay, great. Okay, in 90 days, I'll see you here. And next. And so it just worked out that way. And I'm grateful because her name is Lisa Ann. And so Lisa Ann had been with me in this journey. And so there were parts of my journey when I was living on the floor of my business, making $500 a month. And I'm paying this astrologer $75 that I didn't have, but I didn't know who else to talk to. And then she was with me when I hit the pinnacle of my career. She was with me when I retired my parents. She was with me when I got divorced the first time to someone other than not Garen.
Yeah.
And then so she has been with me through these journeys. So there was parts that I was like, Lisa Ann, I feel crazy when I tell her things like, I just want to be a mom. And I never fucking thought I would say that. I actually would cringe at those words. You just want to be a mom. And she goes, I was wondering when this was going to happen. And she goes, we're about at that time. I go, I never thought this would be me. I never thought. And she's like, it's in the stars. It's what you're feeling is so valid. So she would reassure how I'm feeling, would just not, I don't know why, that I just felt better that, someone else just like reassures it or just goes, you're not crazy.
Yeah.
What you're feeling is valid. It says it right here on this chart. And yes, that makes total sense. Or she could put words to things I had, oh my God, I've been feeling that way.
Mm.
And you just explained it so eloquently. It just lessened the load. Someone who has no attachment to me, and Lisa Ann does not have social media. She barely has a website. I mean, she's so old school. She probably has a rotary phone still. But that she has no connection to me, and she's just a part of this ride for so long, to see it all be.
I think that's the power of long-term mentorship though.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really is. Like I've been with my mentors for like 6 years, and in that 6 years, so much has happened, but they see all of it and they go, it's like, it just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they can see the patterns, they can see all the things that get in the way. Like it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Now, I have this one question that I ask most of my guests when I remember, but I really want to ask you this question. And it's something that I think like it really gets to just speak into who you are as a woman, is like if this were the last time that someone were to hear you speak, ever hear you say the thing that they need to hear, what would be the thing that you want them to hear in the moment?
You are the thing you've always been searching for. That everything that you desire is already inside of you. I'm speaking to myself, so that's why I'm telling him that you are the only one that you really get to make proud. Like, and what would 5-year-old you say to you right now?
Mm.
And she's really the only one that I always want to be in service to, is little 5-year-old Blair. And would she think that? What does she think? And that's the one that I want to answer to for a long time.
I love that. It's almost made me cry.
Mm.
Thank you. Now, you've talked astrology readings, you've talked retreats, you've talked about all of those things. How do people find them? How do people connect with you?
Yes. So on Instagram, my name is Blair, BLAIR.Rachel.Jones. And then our retreats is sacredselfcareretreat.com, or you can just DM me. I want to learn more about your retreats. Our next retreat is in May. It's May 28th through June 1st. We're going to Playa del Carmen, Mexico on a beachfront property. It's a private property. We're going to a private cenote. And we're going to do temazcals. We're going to eat organic food. We're going to have fish caught that day. It's just a really yummy time for women to come get nourished, who mothers the mother, to lay down your schedule. Let us just carry you and tend to you. Let's just be with you, to leave you more filled up, more in joy, to remember who you are, to remember those parts of you. So when you go home to your babies, you're the mother that you know you are to be. You are the wife that you remember to be, that partner. To come back. Like when I come home from these retreats and I see my husband, I'm so full and in joy. And it's like, oh, you went through a little car wash, baby. He's like, you're all bright and shiny and excited. And I was like, yes. And sometimes we have to unplug from the world to plug back into ourselves. And to do that, to lay down the schedule and lay down the Zoom calls and lay down the podcast and just have someone be in service to you and then you being in service to everybody. That's really what the space that my best friend Carly and I have created for women, to heal those parts, mind, body, and spirit. And the very last day of the retreat, we go to a place called Hope for Cancer. My best friend Carly had thyroid cancer, and she holistically healed herself. And so we go to her healing home, Hope for Cancer, which is in Mexico. It's $40,000 to go there, and it's part of the retreat. And I've never walked a journey of cancer.
Yeah.
So it's a very special place that we get to go to because of the work that they do.
Yeah.
And also, it's a place for us to remember to tend to our vessels before we have to tend to our vessels in that way. So I go there in such reverence of what an honor it is to take care of me, to be remembered that can I do this now as preventative care instead of reactive care.
Yeah.
And I go there with such honor, and I do the IVs and the hyperbaric chamber and the colonics and the coffee enemas and the green juice and the food and all the things and the lymphatic, everything that they have there. Because what an honor it is to have this one body in this life that I'm living to tend to. And that's exactly what Hope for Cancer is. And they closed down the whole clinic for us to go. It's not open on Sundays to anybody.
Yeah.
And they open it that one Sunday for us. They've never done it for anybody else. This will be the second time that they do it for us. So it's a really, really special opportunity.
That's so cool. So cool. So ladies, jump on that. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your heart. I've been sitting here with goosebumps and in tears nearly the whole time. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Embodied.